Welcome, everybody, to the Keeping Your Sanity workshop. This is part 2, but we'll do a rerun, a little bit of a rerun over part 1. But welcome, everyone. Keeping Your Sanity, Nurturing Resilience and Connection. For all of you lovely people on Zoom, can you let us know if you're hearing us properly, and go down to react and in the chat do a thumbs up to let us know if you're hearing properly.
They were all smiling.
Are they all smiling? Okay. Great. So we're here at the wonderful Wisdom House in Litchfield, Connecticut. I'm Caroline Phipps, the founder of Living with Inner Elegance, and it's always a blessed thing to be at the Wisdom House. And we now have Deborah, the executive director, to say a word or two.
Good morning, Caroline. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Wisdom House. We are trying something new this morning, so do bear with us. We are incorporating our Zoom and our in-person. This gives us just a tremendous outreach to be able to reach more people with our programming. So thank you for your patience this morning. Thank you for Alex being here. He is our listen at me, tech guy. He's here. And we appreciate everything so that we could try to make this happen this morning. So as Caroline said, my name is Deborah Kelly. I'm the director here at Wisdom House. And how many of you, this is your first time here with us at Wisdom House? Welcome. And those of you that have been here before, welcome back. Just a real brief history. Wisdom House has been here in Litchfield for 75 years. We celebrated our 75th anniversary last year, actually. The Daughters of Wisdom came here 75 years ago. And this was originally a convent training young women to become Daughters of Wisdom. We went on to become a retreat and conference center a little over 30 years ago. And we present programming in the arts, education, spirituality, the environment, and social justice. And so Caroline is a friend of Wisdom House, and she's presented here several times. We look forward to continuing our partnership with Caroline, and you are in for a treat today. Our Zoom friends, thank you. I'm looking the wrong way. And you're going to enjoy the program just as much. Unfortunately, you'll miss out on the delicious lunch that all of these ladies are going to enjoy this afternoon. But thank you for being here with us. Any questions before we get started? No? Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Caroline at this time. And you're in for a treat today.
So those of us who are here at Wisdom House have this delicious paper copy of the workbook. Boy, do I love workbooks and pens. And on the Zoom, you will have prompts and questions, and we will give you a little bit of guideline as we go along as to how to put comments and questions and answers in the chat as we go along, and we're going to be collecting those as we progress. So this is a sort of integrated program, and I think it's just going to be really, really fun. So the first thing that I would just like to do, as we have been, we've come over from New York, and here we are, and I would just like for all of us to take a moment. I'm probably talking to myself here as much as anything, because as I look around the room, I see some of the wisest faces I've ever seen. But let's just take a moment to get our feet on the ground and take a gentle breath and feel the atmosphere and the air around us. And I would like to give thanks for this sacred space that we congregate in today, And for those of you on Zoom, your space, and you are so with us energetically here. We are living in tumultuous and chaotic times. And we are the light keepers. So it's always complicated for people in society who are feeling the turbulence and the chaos and wanting to connect with others who feel that way and who are in activities of community and caring and healing and artists. And this is a safe space for us to come together, congregate, connect, strengthen our resilience. The more resilient we are individually, the more resilient we are going to be as a group going forward. We can affect change with everything that we do. So I would like to give special thanks to everybody who's here and joining today for this beautiful spot. We'll take one more gentle breath in and out. And welcome everyone. Thank you so much. So I'm Caroline Phipps, the founder of Living with Inner Elegance. And as you may be able to tell from my accent, I didn't start out here exactly. For those of you that know me really well, bear with me a minute or two. I'm just going to explain why I am here and a little bit about the Living with Inner Elegance initiative. So I grew up on a dairy farm in the south of England, and I had a father who was a visionary. He cared for the cows, he cared for the land, and he cared for us, and he cared for the community. He was an extraordinary man. And I came into this world, and I take no credit for any of this. I came into this world knowing three things. The first was that I felt that there was something profoundly mysterious and extraordinary beyond my immediate perception. So I was a child who would bury themselves in spiritual literature, the family Bible, mythology, philosophy, novels. I was burying myself in all of it, even though I was also a bit of an extrovert child who rode ponies and rounded up cows and, did all of that as well. So that I knew. I also knew about the connectivity of all things, because when you live on a farm and your well-being depends on the well-being of your animals, you get a very strong sense very quickly of how connected things are. And we had 70 very opinionated dairy cows who were named after the ladies of the village. I think Daddy thought that was a really funny thing to do. They had names like Audrey and Susie, and it was just fantastic. And the ladies in the village loved it, actually, which was a good thing. So I knew from a very early age that our well-being depended on the well-being of our animals, depended on the well-being of my father, of the land. I understood the connectivity of all of these things. And that is something that has remained with me and is a very powerful force for the Inner Elegance initiative. I also knew, and I have no idea why, that in my lifetime, life as it appeared to be carrying on all those decades, I always felt that things were going to alter radically in my lifetime. And I didn't really know what it would look like. I guess I probably thought that it would be an environmental issue as much as anything, because I could see what was happening to our natural resources. But I also felt that there was going to be some kind of evolutionary shift with people, and maybe as a result of the environment. I wasn't really too sure how it was going to go. The thing, though, that surprised me the most was the way the decades seemed to go by, and we kind of all carried on, and everything seemed to be the same, and I was just amazed. And then I feel like suddenly, but of course it's not really suddenly, but suddenly here we are catapulted into a very different reality in our world. We are living in some genuinely tumultuous times and unprecedented in many ways. And I think that human beings are being called to action. And although obviously we have political turmoil and everything else that's going on, I feel that the bigger picture is that we are in a spiritual reckoning, and we are being asked to step up to the plate and understand the connectivity of all of us and all things. And, you know, we all went through the pandemic, and the pandemic was an extremely powerful way to show human beings that if one person has a virus, we can all end up having a virus and our world can be shut down. So if we needed any more evidence that walls and borders and everything are kind of academic to the spiritual world, to the natural world, we are all here and we are all connected. So I founded Living with Inner Elegance with Alex's great help 11 years ago, in anticipation of this moment. And we have seen in the last year or so a distinct uptick in people wanting this kind of information, needing this kind of connection, wanting to serve, wanting to step up to the plate. So that's where we are, and that's why and how I have found myself here today. So I would love to have a quick zip around the room and let you tell all of us who you are. So would you begin and tell us who you are?
Yeah, I live 6 minutes from here, so I'm lucky.
Well, this is a great resource for you, Gail.
I studied with Native Americans
Oh, wonderful.
extensively, and so the "we're all connected" thing really resonates.
Yes, yes, that is one of my passions. When I was a child, I had a painted pony, and I used to dress like Pocahontas. And ride my pony around the village in England. So, you know, I'm sure that, you know, I was always on the side of the Native Americans. Lucy.
Well, I've just retired and moved up from Florida, and so settling into some kind of a rhythm, what that means.
How wonderful. And Lucy, what did you do?
I worked in a parish as a pastoral associate in Florida, and I am a daughter of wisdom. So
oh, how wonderful.
Framework. And I worked in northern Florida, which is a lovely place, and people keep telling me I came the wrong direction because people go to Florida.
Right.
Northern Florida, I live in Connecticut, but it's good to be with our sisters, and it's good to be with all of you on Wisdom House property.
Wonderful. Welcome, Lucy. And how about you, my dear?
Susan, I was a registered nurse for most of my career. I worked all over the United States. I had a very interesting job in that it allowed me to go from state to state and from uh, facility to facility and to experience what the quote unquote elderly experience on a daily basis.
Well, that sounds like some wonderful work. Wonderful work. And Marie, how about you?
As a teacher, an elementary school teacher, and then I got my master's in special education, and I taught, or not really that, in that area for a while. And then I had my two boys, and I stayed home.
Well, that'll do it.
In a different way. I've been very active, and I still am physically, and happy to be here today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And our lovely Kimberly, who did actually put her feet on the floor when we were supposed to. No, it's just wonderful. I love it.
I live in New Hartford, and I'm retired. I worked as a teacher's assistant with autistic children in second grade for many years. And then I actually went back to school and I worked as a veterinary assistant for many years. And now I'm home with my.
Oh, that's
And I'm
wonderful.
Very happy.
Yeah, it's wonderful, Kimberly. Maureen, tell us who you are. Hello.
I'm really happy to be here today. Always happy to be at Wisdom House.
Wonderful. And Maureen, what's your life like? What do you do? Just briefly, let us know.
Wander around a lot and
I love it.
wandering around.
Of course you should. Ah, yes. Okay. Well, writers need to wander around in the woods. I would think so. I think that's so true. So true. And Anne, of course, I'm sure many of you know Anne.
Oh, I do. But also wisdom, and Lucy just moved in with us, so it's been really nice. And some of you on Facebook have seen the pictures that I put up with our dog and Lucy's dog that has arrived. So we may need you at some point. So, and I'm also just thrilled that I'm here at Wisdom House as a volunteer, and it's just wonderful.
I love it. Until Alex and Caroline show up and start demanding flexes and laptops and all sorts of other goodies. Lena.
My name is Lena. I'm an energy medicine teacher. I've done a lot of support work for cancer stage 4, especially breast cancer. And I think my most treasured moments have been my hospice work. And I'm thrilled to be here.
That's wonderful, Lena. Thank you. And Mary.
Let's see, I've been coming to Wisdom House for like over 40 years. And over the years, I've accumulated a lot of wisdom.
Thank heaven.
What's that?
Thank heavens.
Thank heavens.
Yeah, really.
And I facilitate a group here called Journey in the Spirit. It's once a month in person and once a month online, and that's furthering the journey. And it's just call it my home away from home, and I'm happy to be here.
Oh, that's wonderful, Mary, and thank you for all that you do. And Carol.
My name is Carol. I live 25 minutes from here in Washington Depot. And I've been here at Wisdom House off and on for 25 years, I don't know, off and on. And I was a former acupuncturist, alternative medicine practitioner. I offer my time in retirement to working in the hospitals as a Eucharistic minister. And I am so delighted to be here.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Well, it seems to me that we have got a group of incredibly wise people here who you've all done such wonderful things and been of such wonderful service. Let's check in with our Zoom folks and see if anybody would like to be showcased on the screen and introduce themselves to us. Go down to React and pop up your hand if you would like to introduce yourself to the group. Oh, we have a taker.
Oh, it's my, okay, hi.
This is Deborah.
I'm Deb and I'm in Maryland and my experience.
Deborah, we need to have you unmute yourself.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Where does that, oh,
TV on.
where do I thought I was.
We're just turning up our sound.
Am I okay now? Am I muted?
No. She hears you. Tell her, you can hear her.
Yes, Deborah, we can hear you. We have a little feedback though.
Oh, that's time. Well, what if you do that?
Okay, can I try this? Can I try again?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Mary Ann's given me a thumbs up there. So anyway, I'm in Maryland and my experience with Wisdom House was a couple of years ago. I went to the Mary Oliver retreat and absolutely loved it. And I came back this year in August for a 5-day Quiet Days retreat. And it was an amazing experience. And I decided to just sort of keep up. And when you offered this on Zoom, I thought, okay, I'm in. So I'm a retired high school English teacher. I taught high school English for 40 years. And when you mentioned this idea about we are in a spiritual reckoning, I've kind of been in that situation myself for a while, and I'm doing a lot of things to come to terms with all of that, and especially with the way things are in the world today. So that's why I'm here, and I'm really happy that this worked out. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Sharon Sullivan and I'm from Red Hook, New York. Now, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Oh, okay, good. I'm from Red Hook, New York, not far from where Caroline lives, actually. And I was a teacher also. I'm semi-retired because I still substitute. I taught French and Spanish grades K to 5. So I still get my hand in once in a while.
Oh, that's wonderful. You're so welcome.
Thank you.
I'm not sure you can hear me either, Mary Ann. Or do I have to join in a different way?
No, you're fine.
I'm good. All right. So I did part 1, which I really liked, Carolyn. And I am south of Connecticut, across Long Island Sound, directly south of Port Jefferson. I'm in Quorum. And I have through my life been very drawn to spiritual, be it church attendance, be it retreats. I've done many of our local organization that has Zooms. I'm a good Zoomer on this kind of thing. I have a background in teaching, and I taught 2nd and 4th grade for about 11 and a half years, then married. And I chose to be primarily focused on my children, and then I did 4-hour-a-day jobs. And then I ended up going back to work in primarily a science department and the main campus library at Stony Brook University. And I always want to be occupied and throw myself wholeheartedly into many things, sometimes overloading myself and stress myself. So now I have to figure out ways to get a grip on the world and myself. Anyway, I'm glad I can be here. I'm glad I can be here. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to have you.
Yeah.
Do we have anybody else?
Yeah, we need to have her feed you. So
Hi, my hand is up.
you need to have her video, otherwise I can't play her.
Sorry, what do we need?
You need her video, otherwise I can put her on the.
Oh, Mindy, my dear, you need to go to the bottom left and click on the camera, because we are hearing you, but we're not seeing you.
Otherwise I can put her to speak.
Otherwise, we can just have you speaking.
Ask her for mute.
If you could unmute Mindy.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't have my face on camera. Not today. Maybe
No,
another
no,
time.
no worries.
I'm a native Long Islander who moved to Connecticut and found it very difficult in these tumultuous times to reestablish a network and connections. I have been connected with Wisdom House with several of the creativity retreats. I'm a professional creative, sort of retired, but not. And I'm very interested in hearing how other people are reconciling. Don't know if any of that was heard.
Okay. Okay. So in the previous Keeping Your Sanity workshop, there were a number of things that we explored. And we looked at how we co-create our worlds with every thought that we have, every action that we take, and every word that we use. We either bring light to the world or we don't. This is how powerful we are. And I feel that there are forces at play that are trying to make us feel powerless and hopeless. And I'm not buying that one. And I sense that none of you are too. You know, we are light keepers. We are people who are healers. We are people who help. So in the last workshop, we took a dive into our habitual patterns of behavior and how we behave when we're overwhelmed and how we behave when things are going well. So we took a look at that. And we also took a dive into that saboteur voice that we all have. We live with this duality, you know, we have this voice over here, and then we have this one over here. And you know, the one that says, you shouldn't be doing that. You're not qualified to do that. You shouldn't be speaking. You don't know what you're talking about. You shouldn't be doing this. You're not good enough. That voice. And then we have the other one over here who's like, I really want to do something. No, you shouldn't do anything. I had an experience years ago where I was invited onto a local radio station, and I had just started doing holistic health work. And as I was driving to the radio station, the voice in my head kept saying, who do you think you are? You're going on the radio to talk about wellness. You've been a fashion executive. What is the matter with you? And I nearly turned around and went home. And somehow or another, I call my saboteur voice Susie. I was able to shut her up. This is no problem with anybody called Susie. It's just that it just happens to come into my mind. So, and we also talked a little bit about negative words. When we constantly use negative words, which we hear a lot of in our society today, negative words, fighting words, kind of violent words. All of these things matter with the collective and how they impact us and how they impact other people. We also talked a little bit about our strengths and understanding where we are strong and where we are less strong. And one of the things about understanding our strengths is that we can then team up with other people who maybe bring skills in that we don't have. And then as soon as we do that, we are immediately more empowered as a group of people. And I think that lots of organizations and businesses have a way of sort of hiring the same kinds of people. And I remember working in a big film company, and I was told, oh yes, you're one of us. And I was thinking, what is one of us? You know, what is one of us? Like we're somehow or another, we're automatic people, and we're all meant to behave the same way. And it was, very much that kind of environment. And wherever I've worked, where there's been diversity of people, diversity of talent, it makes a huge difference, because when we all can sort of pull in slightly different directions and have different loads to carry, it really helps to strengthen us. So we took a dive into strengths and why understanding our strengths matters so much. And we also had a wonderful chat about miracles and miraculous events that have happened in our lives. Because when you look back on your life, there are certain things that have happened that just defy normal logic and belief. And I, for one, love these stories because they happen all the time. And so many people, I think, either take them for granted or don't know, that is what has happened. So that's what we did last time. For anybody who was here last time, do you have any thoughts or comments about, it was 5.5 months ago, things have changed. Things have changed quite a lot in a way and remained similar in other ways. And is there anybody here who would like to comment on that 5.5 month period we've had? Mary, have you got any thoughts about that?
I think you gave a good review, and it reminded me of things that happened 5 months ago. And I kind of needed that little bit of a refresher. But I think you hit most of the nails on the head. So.
And are you feeling differently now than you were then?
I think I'm being more attuned to my words. Yeah, because they are powerful. And I need to be reminded of that very often, because they just seem to sneak out sometimes.
Don't they? I know. We can impact somebody for a lifetime by, saying something negative to them that they carry with them forever. I was always told, oh, your family doesn't do maths, okay? So then, I only have to see a string of numbers and somebody asks a question, I'm like a deer in the headlights. And that's a long time ago now. So, these things matter. What we say really matters. And whether we encourage people or whether we don't, or whether we're kind or whether we're not, these things can mark people for a lifetime. They can actually stop people from taking a particular course in life that they should take. And as I recall in our last workshop, there were a number of people who had had a moment when they'd been told that what they wanted to do with their lives wasn't appropriate. And that changed the course of their life, and not always necessarily for the better. So that's how powerful we are when we speak. So just to bear that in mind. So I thought we'd do a quick temperature check and zip around the room and give me a word or a phrase. I'll give you a second, think about that, of how you're feeling these days, how you're feeling at the moment in a word or a phrase. And while you're having a little think, I'm going to let you know that mine is hopeful. I have become increasingly hopeful as I see human beings stepping up to the plate and coming together. It's giving me hope. For those lovely people on Zoom, you can write your word in the chat when we give you the heads up, and then we will get some wonderful graphics on the screen to capture your thoughts. So anybody want to start with how they're feeling right now? Just throw out some words for me or phrases. Yes, Lena.
More trusting.
I love that. More trusting. That's very powerful. Very powerful. Anybody else?
Say inspired, and looking intentionally for those that offer that inspiration. When you can look around and see those things that are depressing and discouraging, I'm trying to train my mind to look for those that are inspiring, because there are people, there are groups, there are communities that are inspiring right now.
Yeah, absolutely. There really are. There's so much inspiring material, but as we know, bad headlines make the headlines, right? So, you know, that's one of the things we're dealing with. Anybody else got some good words or a phrase or two? Oh, good.
I was watching a sermon the other day, and they said when you start your morning and you're looking for good things throughout the day, you'll find good things. If you wake up and you're looking for bad things, then you're going to find bad things. And that really sat with me. And I think it's true.
Yeah, I think it's true too. And I think that's how powerful that kind of affirmative thought is, you know, because it's so easy to wake up now and sort of go, oh, really? Is it still going on? You know? Anybody else have any goodies? Yes, Anne.
Hopeful and trusting. Where that comes from is struggling.
Ah.
It comes out of struggle to make sense of what's going on. And to me, it doesn't make sense. But then there's a sense of hope and trust in my fellow human beings that we are light keepers, and there's just hope in that.
Wow, that's wonderful. I love that. That's great words for all of us, Anne. Thank you. Yes, Carol.
What Anne is saying, I'm struggling, but daily I try to renew my trust.
And Carol, what do you do to try to do that? Is there some specific practice that you have?
I attend mass in the morning online, on TV every day, and I pray every day for the world, for the country, for my family, for myself and my husband.
And this is the wonderful part about electronics today, because there's so much negativity about electronics and us all being absorbed in things. But it's also got that amazing side where you can attend, you know, your service every day without having to keep going off to do that when maybe you don't have the time or the resources or whatever. You know, it's a blessed thing that we have.
For me, it's the most worthy thing that I can do in the day, in spite of the fact that I'm an artist. I paint. I'm an athlete. I go out and walk. I do whatever I can do outdoors, and I love cooking. I spend a lot of time cooking in my home, but yet those things are always secondary.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share? How they're feeling, a word, a phrase? Yes. Overwhelmed. I get it. I totally get it. I just picked it up from you. Yeah. We are in a period where even the most minor thing that happens at the moment can feel like woof, you know, that's spilling out over the barrel, and it's like it's too much. It's very easy to have that happen, and I think that the more we can ground ourselves, especially when we have access to the natural world and all of that kind of stuff, that is profoundly helpful. I'm lucky enough to have a beautiful garden. I go out in the garden if I'm feeling really overwhelmed and sort of walk around and come back in, you know, and it somehow or another, it changes me. And there's some kind of, I feel sort of nurtured, and a little bit like I am just a small part of a very, very big wheel, and there are all these issues going on, but there's something bigger at play, and it just helps me to take enough of a breath to then take the next step. But overwhelm is a horrible, horrible feeling. I mean, it's really a dreadful feeling. It's awful, awful. So the more that we can take those minor steps towards resilience and connection, I believe they are counterpoints to the overwhelm. Anybody else have anything? Yes.
I feel very conflicted because I have a set of beliefs.
Yes.
And I'm running up against a lot of things that don't in any way fit in that.
Yeah.
And there's a fighter in me
Right. Yep.
that
Yeah.
sometimes wants to punch somebody in the and yet my belief system is to be a kind, gentle person. And so I'm conflicted a lot.
Yeah, and I totally get that. And I always think, why is this making me so furious? And it's because I innately know that I am being asked to believe in something that simply isn't true. And I just can't. And then that trips me into, you know. So I totally understand that, Gail. I think that's a great insight. And I think a lot of us deal with that all the time, because then you feel badly because you want to be a decent person and you're going around your house going, oh, you know. Okay. Anybody else want to say anything, or shall we check in with our Zoom people? Mary.
No, I just think I'm too hope and overwhelmed. It's like it's a zigzag, you know, seesaw. You know, some moments you're, you know, like you could be very hopeful here, and then you could get on your phone and something pops up and you're there. So it's just a balancing act right now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think we are in a balancing act. And of course, one of the laws of the universe is being in balance, right? The natural world needs to be in balance. Human beings need to be in balance. And of course, to your point, Gail, what's happening at the moment is that human beings are way out of balance. It's like we're like drunken sailors, you know, we've been on a ship too long and we've just arrived back at port. You know, it's like we're all over the place. And when we're out of balance in our bodies, when we're out of balance emotionally with overwhelm, when we're out of balance spiritually, what is going on? I don't understand what's going on. You know, all of it is, you know, we long to be in balance, we human beings. We need it. The minute we're knocked off balance, of course, we're going to fall over, metaphorically speaking. And it's a very uncomfortable situation. And we're so out of balance at the moment. Were you going to say something?
I was going to ask you, can we actually name or call what it is that is the ideology or the politics or the spiritual revolution or non-spiritual revolution.
Yeah.
Can we name it? Because we're all talking about how we feel off balance,
Mhm,
we feel all
mhm, mhm.
struggling in this, but we're not naming what it is that is offending us.
Well, my take on it is that every time I am asked to believe in separatism of any kind, whether it's we separate from nature, we separate from one another, we separate on the grounds of, all these different prejudices that are being fueled at the moment. For me, my sort of encompassing thing is that the spiritual truth for me is that we are all one and we are all connected, and what impacts one of us impacts all of us. And we're being asked to believe at the moment that separatism is the way to win and to be the best. And it just doesn't wash with me at all. And that's, if I had to give it an umbrella, I would say it's separatism versus we are one.
And this is worldwide, it's not.
And it's worldwide. It's worldwide. So we have these separatist governments and political movements spreading all over the place. And then we have the counterforce of other politicians and leaders and spiritual leaders who are coming in to fill in that void to say, no, 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 we are all in this together. And so for me, if I had to give it an umbrella term, it would be separatism versus we are one. And this is why it's so.
It's in all areas.
It's in all areas of life, yes, 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 yes. I come from Great Britain, and they're just about to get into something of a muddle over there if they're not careful, because we already did leaving the EU. Not to get too political, but
the internet also and it aggravates that.
Yes.
It foments that.
Yes. Well, it's an odd thing too, because talking about the internet again, we can use it to connect and learn about lives around the globe and connect with other people. But I mean, the amount of negativity on it is unbelievable. So we're in this, duality with it all of the time. But that's what I would say. Separatism is what we're being asked to believe in, and it just simply doesn't wash with those of us that know the truth of the interconnectedness of all things. So I'm going to ask the folks on the Zoom now to pop in a word or a phrase in the chat so that we can check in with the temperature there. Oh, cautiously optimistic, Marianne. I like that. That kind of captures the feeling that we have here in some ways, I think. Beautiful. Restless for change. Yes, I hear you, Deborah. So restless for change. I think that's partly why we're all here. Okay, and let's also just have a quick go around the room on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being I feel powerless and 10 being I feel totally empowered. Can you give me a number? And it's a strange question, I know, but it's sort of designed to have us all. How do we feel right now? And I was going to give you all a number when I came in, and now hearing from you all, I think I was going to say kind of I'm about a 7, but now I feel like an 8 or a 9 because I feel such great energy with this group. So it may have changed since you came in the room. Maybe it has. So anybody have any numbers they want to give?
I'd say 8.
An 8? That's lovely, Lucy.
Well,
As well? Wonderful. Okay.
came up from our Zoom friends was a 2, a 4, and a 5.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
So our Zoom friends need to be here with us, don't they?
They got feel the energy on Zoom. I need to be here too because I'm normally a 9. But now, because of a acute crisis in my family relationships, I'm a 2
Oh, yes. And today. And the structure of family and relationships is so important for resilience. And when those things get shaky, it really shakes us. You know, it's so important for our emotional well-being and our safety and our security. And I'm just glad that you're here with us today, Carol, because, you know, we can give you a big metaphorical hug to help your day. Yes, thank you for sharing that. It was very, very generous of you to do that. Anybody else have any numbers? Yes.
You 2 or 3, but in this room, I'm feeling like a nice 8, 8.5.
Yeah, I know. I'm beginning to think that maybe we all need to meet here every day. Right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic. I can feel it. I just love it. Do we have any other numbers up there? No, we've heard from everyone?
Well, enough 5 came up.
Okay.
From Deb,
Okay.
the 5.
So
Yeah.
it's interesting, isn't it? I feel like it suggests that being physically together is a very powerful thing. Very powerful thing. Yeah, we have a 5 here, right? Yeah. Okay, so one thing I've learned from this pretty quickly, Alex, what are you telling me?
Look at this Zoom.
Okay, yes, a 2, okay. So we're coming to help you, Sharon. We wish you were here with us. Mariana 4. Person, life empowered, existence in the world, powerless. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Zoom people, for sharing that with us. I think it just emphasizes how powerful we are when we come together. Does Sharon want to speak? Okay.
I think it's for me, I'm facing a milestone birthday when I'm turning 80. And I just feel like what's next? I'm anxious about that. And secondly, I I was I felt a lot of meaningfulness in tutoring a young child for 4 years in Spanish, and that was my old job, and I really felt needed. And I received a note from his mom that, you know, he turned 9 this year, or maybe 10, I don't know which. And he wants to move on and be with his friends more. And one-on-one isn't doing it for him anymore. They took me out to breakfast the other day, which was lovely. It was like a closure, but I've lost something that was meaningful to me. And I also found out that one of my former students was picked up by ICE. So I'm feeling a lot of personal things that make me feel like, what's next? Do I have any purpose? And kind of that's where I'm at with the 2, if I can sort of explain what's going on. And I really need a spiritual director, I think, but I have yet to find one. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharon.
Hi. when I said I feel like a 5 and that whole idea of being restless for change, I think for me sometimes I have this sense of outrage and disbelief about the things that are going on. I look at the headlines every day and I ask myself, do I really want to read the article? And I feel helpless. I'm trying to seek out ways to make a difference and be involved, and yet, like looking at, the tragedy that's just overcoming it, like Jamaica, there's nothing I can do as far as that goes. And I just feel so helpless in being able to do anything. So that's why I just feel restless for change. And then there are some things that are happening that I just think, if we could all just be kind, if we could just be kind and not, I don't know, it's really hard to express, but that's where I am. I'm feeling a 5. I'm overwhelmed. I want to make a difference, and I just feel like time is marching on, and I'm not going to be able to do anything. So this is really helping for me to talk to other people and listen to what all your struggles are too. And I really agree that being there physically would be great. But this is the next best thing. So thank you. I'm finished.
Anybody else?
Hi out there, Mary Ann. I'll put in more than a couple cents here. I feel that it's unrelenting. It's like I wake up every day and it's like, well, new day, new start. And I have to measure how much of the outside world with its turmoil I let in. It's a terrible feeling to have to do that because you're like disengaging, and I don't want to disengage. So the only way I get through this is by personally engaging with positive people around me. I don't know if I'm affecting the political stage, but my personal stage I can be positive about. And that's what gets me through, along with a little bit of solitary stuff in there. I'll go out and do my gardening or take a walk or listen to music. It all fuels me to go on day after day when it just looks bleak sometimes. So that's what I try to do.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I feel like it's living in two separate realities, where one is the present moment, where possibly we're able to gather resilience and stability. And then there's a reality of the rest of the world. And to balance it, considering that as we get older, it's loss after loss after loss to begin with. And we're dealing with losses of our bodies, of our friends, of our world, of our life. The outside world is just creating so many more losses so much faster that it's even hard to keep up, trying to keep your personal life in the moment. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything there, Alex?
No.
No? Okay. So the next question in the workbook was going to be the challenges that we're facing and how they impact us. But because this is such a great group for sharing everything, we've done that already. So to think a little bit about these challenges that we're facing, maybe my biggest issue is this idea of separatism and being asked to believe in separatism that I just simply know isn't true. And along with that, I am furious about every injustice I see at the moment. I mean, just furious, and that impacts me all the time. And on top of that, I am also really feeling the degradation of the natural world, because we also have forces that are continually trying to exploit them. And then we have all these amazing environmentalists and native people who are trying to keep everything in place. So there's this sort of ongoing push and pull all the time. And I just think, why can't people understand that if we don't have the natural world, if we don't have our air, if we don't have our water, we don't have anything. We can be as technologically brilliant as we like, but it isn't going to do a sublime bit of good. And I think it's just horrifying for those of us that know that, to see all of that going on. And I, too, have to be extremely careful about the balance, here we go with that word again, the balance between being informed and being in denial, because I feel like we need to know what's going on so that we can advocate and make good choices. But one has to be really careful about that, because I only have to see a few news headlines when I wake up in the morning. I'm like, oh, I'm in overwhelm again. To your point, in overwhelm again. So it's that whole idea. Does anybody want to share ways that you're dealing with this sort of duality that we're living in, this out of balanceness? Does anybody have any thoughts about? Yes, Gail. What?
Spending time in nature.
Right.
I just came back from an 80-day trip driving to Alaska.
Wow.
I really needed it.
Yes. 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 Yes.
So we went to national parks and just out in the environment and focused on trees and green things and animals, animal kingdom. One day we sat and watched prairie dogs for 2 hours.
Oh, how blissful.
So
That's wonderful. And Alaska is an extraordinary place for that, isn't it? Talk about make us feel our scope in the whole thing. It sort of lets you know what a tiny piece you are, you know?
but all through Canada and all through the US, the whole trip, there is that nature is around us. And one thing that I do, which I started during the pandemic, is sometimes when I'm in that real overwhelm, I just get in my car and I drive up here in the northwest of Connecticut, and I drive for an hour, and I might pull over to the side of the road by a pond and just sit and watch
Mm-hmm.
and let it feel me and let me feel it.
Right.
That's what I do.
And that's you really feeling that connectivity, isn't it? It's like being sort of given a container to be in that feels safe, you know?
Trees don't lie.
Trees don't lie. I know in the summer I always go and jump in the lake, and every time I jump in the lake and I get out and I think, wow, there you are. I feel like so integrous when I'm in the water. You know, it's like everywhere I go, I'm like, can I get in the water? I'm like one of those, you know, Portuguese water dogs. I need to get in the water and then I'll feel better, you know. Anybody else have any great strategies for, yes, Lena?
I have been reviewing all this crazy stuff that we do. That's the essence of the problem, that everyone thinks they're right. And we aren't all right. Are we? We're not all right. And I've been thinking about people that are lingering in my life that I don't feel close to. And then I get so sad. So I've been reviewing and I've been telling them how much I love them. Or I've been trying to do that. I started with my sister, who I had a terrible discipline with.
Oh.
And then it's hard because they don't always accept it from you. So I've been working on different degrees of reaching out in just a simple way. It's not working with everyone, but I think that's a good way for me. Instead of just saying gratitude, because that's sometimes such a default, you know. Like, so I'm trying to say, I really care about you, I'm sorry, or let's find that place. So I'm working on that, and I think it it feels better with some people. But there's so many disagreements.
Yeah,
Say
there
something,
is.
you get like texting. You text and people misunderstand you, and then you think, why did I text them? So I just try to send love to them or sending love. I'm trying to find neutral emojis. Just it's like you have to send something after everything you say, just to neutralize for everything. So that's what.
Yeah, it's true. And I think, you know, that we have this way of, we here all understand the power of gratitude, okay? It is incredibly empowering to remind yourself of what to be grateful for and how blessed, you know, one is. But to take another step towards taking an action, I am actually going to reach out. You know, my sister's driving me nuts right now, but actually I'm going to make a point of reaching out, because even if you don't necessarily get back what you want from taking that action, you have taken that power back and taken a step, at least in the right direction, and very likely maybe planted a seed where somebody else feels then, oh, you know, maybe my sister's not so bad, and then, you know, she'll get back to you. But it's sort of breaking that stalemate. And I think so often we always look at like all of these sort of giant kinds of concepts. And one of the things I focus on a lot with Inner Elegance is just taking that next little step. You know, even if it seems so modest and so minor, everything that gets you moving this way is stopping you from going back that way and crawling back into bed and putting the duvet over your head. I always find that when I wake up in the morning, I think, state of the world, and then I just think, okay, get up and get moving and get the energy going and check in with your higher power. And then all of a sudden I think, oh, it's okay, I'm kind of back in myself again now, and now I'm able to take the next step. But I always have that moment at the moment when I wake up, and I have this sort of, you know, in English, we always call it that kind of clutch of emotion. It's like clutch. Things aren't quite as I would like them to be. You know, there's that sort of, you know, you come out of your dreams and that kind of thing happens. That's great, Lena. Thank you. Anybody else have? Yes. A dip? Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I have 3 words: acceptance, courage, and wisdom. And that comes from the Serenity Prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So sometimes I just shorten it: acceptance, courage, wisdom. But that's helped me for many, many years in my life to stay calm and centered. You know, I have limits of what I can do. I can take care of me and how I interact with the world, but I can't affect very much outside of myself. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. The only thing I would say is that you're going to be affecting more on the outside than you ever know, because it has a ripple effect. But one of the things that I love about the whole AA movement is the idea of people coming together in a sacred space to care for one another. In that sense, the power of people coming together and connecting and understanding that, you know, we live in uncertainty, but we always have. It's just that now it's so in our face that we had sort of certain things that we felt were certain. Of course, none of it ever is, but it was very easy to delude ourselves. You know, oh, this is how it's going to be, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is how it's going to be when I retire, and this and that and the other. And, you know, that was how we, you know, things had always been. And now we have uncertainty in our faces when, in truth, being a human being on this planet spinning through the universe, it's always been uncertain. So this is another part, I think, of the spiritual puzzle where we are being asked to step up to the plate in uncertain times. So we have all of this going on. We're in an extremely uncomfortable spot at the moment, as we are hearing from everybody. It feels like, sometimes I feel like I've been sort of pushed through a door and the one behind me has gone gaboom and locked. And then there's another door at the end of the corridor, but that's locked. And here I am in the corridor. Okay, great. I don't like it in here. I don't want to be in here. What am I going to do now? So I'm going to have to deal with how I am in the corridor. It's me and the corridor, and I'm going to have to make it as comfortable as possible while doing the best that I can do. One of my biggest inspirations is a friend of mine, Divine G. Whitfield, that some of you will have heard of, Oscar-nominated screenwriter for the film Sing Sing. He was wrongfully incarcerated for 25 years as a young man. He did the whole 25, eventually passed the parole board. And he is the most resilient, resourceful, extraordinary man I ever met. And he was able to, behind those bars, understand that he needed to take his power back, and he was not going to let that system crush him. And, you know, I went through all of this process with him about, you know, the need for understanding a higher power, having self-esteem, belief in yourself, being able to take that one step out of your cell every day and head to the library department that he was allowed to go to. And while he was in there, he wrote 14 screenplays, studied the law, got a screenplay ready for the film Sing Sing that ultimately got him onto the red carpet when he came out of Sing Sing, and he's hanging out with Jane Fonda. And she's like, thank you for all you do. And he's like, well, thank you for all you do. You know, and it's kind of extraordinary. So he, to me, is like the absolute symbol of that person who is stuck in that situation where he doesn't want to be in there. It took his youth away. It took, you know, many of his middle years away. So the idea that we can navigate external circumstances that we are not happy with at all. Our job now is to go inside and know that we, as we gently go along, can co-create some comfort in this cell or this corridor or wherever we're finding ourselves, that can keep us as strong and resilient and connected as possible. Because what the future is going to look like here is going to depend on us. We can't have it depend on all of those forces that are at play that are not aligned with what we know to be the truth. So dealing with uncertainty is a huge thing. And I love the serenity prayer from that point of view, because it's like, let me be able to make a difference where I can and understand where I can't, and know what that difference is and take those steps. And that's why, of course, AA has been so phenomenally successful, because it's based in that truth, you know?
OA. No, I just wanted to.
Yeah. Well, I'm not in AA either, but I know a lot of people who are and who have been, and how powerful it is. It's saved a lot of people in my life, so.
Just didn't subs.
Right. Yes, I hear you. Anybody else have any goodies to share? Yes, Maureen.
For me, I can only obviously speak for myself, but I think that my own belief is that all of it is 100% always connected to God. And my goal, if that's the right word, is to constantly figure out how to be in alignment with God so that I can be doing the next right thing, whether it's in the grocery store or on the beach as I'm writing or whatever it is. And I do believe that we're vessels of grace, and that whatever we do and whatever we're deciding is, for me personally, I'm trying to figure out how we should let that grace flow through me so that I am doing the next right thing. But I don't personally feel like there's any decision that I make. Well, I make a lot of decisions that aren't in alignment with God, for sure, but I it's like the Merton prayer, you know, like, what is God's will? I don't always know what God's will is. I do think God is pleased, that I'm trying at least to figure out what God's will is. But I do feel that the entire point of my life, and it's been this way for a while, even before everything got shredded, is to just figure out how best to open myself up to what that source is. And so for me personally, it is about my faith. And I've always been digging deep into my faith. That's just my path. And I feel that the way to get through for me right now is to dig deeper into what I already have, like what I already know. And a lot of that for me is the saints. I have so many saints. Well, today was like the saints, like we're selling, like I, you know, love Francis. I've had a lot of wonderful things with Francis, Claire, and Saint Ignatius. But I was thinking about this because you were saying about like the tiny things that we do. I'm a huge Saint Teresa of Lisieux person, so it's like the tiny little things, or Saint Teresa of Calcutta, like just do the next thing, just do small things with great love. And so I do agree with what you're saying about like those small things and being impactful in the world. And I also do really look to the saints for modeling about like, how can I do this? I get a lot of strength. I think their lives are beautiful. And that's sort of a way of just digging deep and writing framework for myself during this particular time. I have a Tuesday night Zoom that I do with, it's called Scriptural Reflection. It's like these amazing people I study with, a Franciscan priest named Father Tom. And one of the people in the group said something last week about turning to faith because it's timeless. And I love that use of the word timeless. It really struck me that, yeah, everybody's talking about how crazy the world is. We get it. We all get it. But the word timeless just was so cleansing and refreshing for me. So I love that. And so that's the last week I've gotten a lot of mileage out of just that particular word. Just like, okay, like my faith is timeless. And also, I don't really know like how like Jesus-y we're getting here today, but I do feel like keeping my eyes on Jesus. If I know the world is crazy. For me personally, if I keep my eyes there, I can keep myself balanced. So.
I love this idea of timeless. I think you've actually struck a chord with all of us with that one, because it's this idea, right, of this too shall pass. And there's so much more at play going on than these, you know, great big characters that are trying to stuff themselves into our faces and demand that we pay attention. So whenever I tend to, you know, go back out to that bigger picture, it always helps me, always helps me. Thank you. That's really lovely. Do we have anybody on Zoom who would like to share anything here before we move on?
All right, I'll throw a couple ideas out here. My thought is there any good in what I would call evil or discord?
Somebody have their hand up?
Me, Mary Ann.
Aha.
Is there any good in a bad, evil, discordant situation? I find in my life, sometimes I grow in bad times, and that can fuel me up.
Is she unmuted?
But would it becomes a worldwide thing.
Can you
That's-
check your sound, my dear?
Let's see. Let me check this out. I usually can do this. I've done enough Zooms. Let's see. Let's find meeting chat. All right.
I'm sure
Here
she's
I
giving
am.
us great words of wisdom.
No. Can you read my lips? All right. I guess I didn't.
I can hear her fine.
I thought I unmuted me.
Yeah, I know, right?
No, you can't hear me?
I can.
Debbie, you and I can talk.
Yeah, you and I can talk, Mary.
Yeah, no, I unmuted. So somehow the group unmute thing. And I see, yeah, Caroline, your button looks like, oh, unmute. Let me unmute you. I'm not sure how to fix it.
Good.
Question mark. I can't figure, I'll put it in the chat. I'll chat it. Here we go.
I can hear you too, Marianne.
All right, well,
I
I'm
can
gonna put, is there any positive in evil? And I'm using evil because to me that's a strong word. Evil in the world. How about that one? Evil.
Tell her that we can hear.
We can hear you, my dear. And now we can't. Have you unmuted yourself?
How's that? Good. All right. So my thought is that a lot of if I look back on bad situations and how I get through them, beyond the immediate situation, I often find that I learned something. Now, the thing is, what's going on now is so worldwide, it's almost catastrophic. But I don't want to push myself down with that notion, but just thinking about it. And also, I agree and support what the woman said about reading about positive people that have overcome things and survived things is very fulfilling to me. I will sort out a movie on, say, Netflix about a person that's overcome something and survived, and that fuels me up. Now, I'm not facing the world's challenges, but I'm knowing on a one-to-one basis, people that get through things help me know I can persist and carry on. And just these little things, add to my existence. So those are my few thoughts.
Beautiful.
Hope you heard it. Okay.
Okay. Alex is doing the work of 5 people here. Thank you. Yes, Mary. Yes.
It's like, I was thinking like how I cope. I'm trying to be more faithful to my centering prayer practice. And that's helpful. And also I'm trying to be more silent. I'm just turning everything off because the silence is golden, like they say, so just get it all, just be quiet.
Yeah, just be quiet.
It's working. I mean, it's helpful.
Yes, I believe it is. Yeah, because one of the big issues that we're dealing with now is this idea of sort of attention overload. The amount of information that is coming at us is unprecedented in human evolution. No group of people have ever had this level of stuff coming at them at such a rate. And it was called way back in the 70s by a Nobel economist peak distraction. That was then. So whatever we pay attention to grows, as we've discussed here already. So where we focus grows, and there are so many things dragging away our attention all the time. And the more we are distracted, the less knowing and wise and aware we are, because we put ourselves outside of ourselves all the time whenever we go into the being distracted. And if I see a headline where I think there might be some bulk salvation with the political situation, and I see a headline that sucks me into that, I'm like, right there. And then after I've done 3 of those, I think, oh, actually, why am I doing that? Because you know what? If this situation is going to turn on a dime, somebody's going to let me know pretty quickly. I don't have to keep doom scrolling to find out where it is. So all of this brings me to the point where we are our greatest resource. We are the resource that we have. No matter
how many material resources we have.
The main and the greatest resource we have is ourselves. And this is going to bring me to a little discussion around the whole idea of integrity, because integrity today is under siege, as we know, that there are many people that we are witnessing who are completely unintegrous. They do things that are that they know are completely untrue, and also to damage other people. So all of that is a complete lack of integrity. So having personal integrity, where we do what we say we're going to do, whether it's that
internal voice in our heads, or whether it's
something that we have said to somebody else, but this whole idea of trusting ourselves to do what we say we're going to do. And so the next question I have is, how much do you trust yourself to do what you say you'll do, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being I don't trust myself at all, and 10 being I have complete trust in myself across the board? And I appreciate that this is a question that takes a little thought. And when I considered mine, it took me quite a long time, but I would say that generally these days, I kind of am an 8. I can trust myself for most things, but then we're going to go into the next questions about where we can trust ourselves in our lives and where we don't. So does anybody have a thought about how much they can trust themselves to do what they say they'll do? Yes.
I feel like I'm usually trusting
Of
myself.
myself, that if I say I'm going to do something,
I will go ahead and
I'll be there, I'll do it. Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to put a number on that, 1 to 10?
Put
A 9? Okay, that's
sometimes when I can't do what I thought I would be able to do, so.
But that's different to just simply not doing it. If there's some barrier to you doing it, you've set the intention to do it,
Right.
which is an integrous thing to do, and then something crops up and you can't do it.
Correct.
You know, that's not the same as, okay, tomorrow morning I'm going to move 3 miles to walk off the 3 tubs of ice cream I ate last night. And then you know you're not going to.
Let me give an example. what I just decided, I'm not going to be watching MSNBC nightly.
The pundits.
Yeah.
I just decided that.
Okay.
That I'm
Yeah.
focus on my own integrity and not listen. But like you said, if something really needs to be known,
Uh-huh.
I'm sure I'll find it.
You're going to know. How are you? How?
Away for 2 months
Uh-huh.
in Europe, and I didn't watch any of these.
Or go on the internet,
Wow.
and I felt better.
Yeah.
In that respect.
Yeah. And did you come back and pick it all up again, or did you carry on that habit?
You know, I started watching it with my husband.
And then I just said, goodbye. I'm not gonna do this anymore.
And you've stuck to it?
Pardon me?
You've stuck to that?
Yes.
You've been able to?
It's only been 4 nights.
Well done. Well done. Well done. Anybody have a number for me on the trust scale? Mary, you're about to say something very profound. I know.
Yeah, not profound, but at first I was, oh, I just put down a 10.
Sure. Yeah, I know, right?
Because I do, if I tell somebody I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna follow through with it.
Best of my ability. Then I said, well, let's say you're going to have a heart-to-heart with that person and putting it off, and putting it, so I am not a 10. To rework it because, and so, at this point in my life, I'll give myself a 6 or a 7, I think. I got a little work I have to do on my plate, but interesting question.
Yeah, right, isn't it? We don't think about it often.
Oh, doesn't mean I won't do it, so you still trust that you're gonna do it.
Yeah, I know I'm working, pretty soon. You know what, too, it comes up when I talk about something like that, and it's part of everything that we're talking about today, it's fear.
Oh, yeah.
It's always fear.
Uh-huh.
How you're gonna be perceived, or,
Mhm.
you know, where we're being fed fear.
Mhm.
I mean, fear is such a powerful emotion, we say it's fear and love.
Yeah.
You know, there's the scales.
Mhm.
So once you
All the
get
time.
past the fear,
Mhm.
hopefully you can get to the love.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Anybody else have a number that they want to share? I do appreciate that that is a big question. Yes, Kimberly.
If I say I'm gonna do something for someone else, I definitely do it. But
Ah.
if I say I'm going to do something for myself, I'm probably more.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
So, like 3 days in a row, I said I was gonna wash all the windows. That's me, I never do it, but you know, when I get up in the morning and I'll go, and this, and this. I do this and this, and this and that, so I think it's different if it's for me as opposed to for someone.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good distinction. Very good. Anybody else have one that they want to share? And do we have any numbers from our Zoom people? Scale of 1 to 10? Oh, we have an 8 from Marianne. Okay. That's lovely. Sharon, 9. I love it. Deborah, an 8. Wow. Look at this. Okay. So it seems like our lovely people on Zoom are feeling very solid about their trust in and of themselves, which I love that. It is highly significant, I think, that it's easier to show up when we're showing up for somebody else, when we have a witness to our behavior, than when we are checking in with ourselves. You know, that's a very powerful thing. So I'd like you now to identify 3 areas of your life where you have the most trust in yourself, and 3 areas of your life where you trust yourself a little less. And I'm going to pick up Mary's point over here, because where I can trust myself is I'm a natural peacekeeper, but as a direct result of being a natural peacekeeper and a sort of born diplomat or whatever,
It's funny.
if I don't trust myself to handle conflict very well, and also maybe if I need to speak to somebody about something that is affecting my relationship with them and damaging it, or I really feel that they're damaging themselves and I need to say something, I don't have a huge amount of faith in myself to go through that. I would rather just keep on the peaceful side and not have to deal with the conflicts. And I know why it is in my life, because I grew up in a household, there were loads of us kids, I was the baby. I never heard my parents raise their voice to one another, ever, ever, ever. I heard my father raise his voice once when I was in a rough and tumble with my brother, when on a wet Sunday afternoon, and he was trying to do his tax return, my poor father, and we slammed into the table and knocked everything everywhere. And he said, "You children!" Never recovered from that. It was like, oh my Lord. But I never heard them raise their voices. So if they must have had stuff going on. But I mean, they just adored each other. And I didn't really see it. So if people start to get into some kind of a conflict with one another, or there's a raised voice, I can trust myself to try and get under the table and get away from there, because I'm like, oh my God, these people are going to be divorcing. Oh my God, the end of the world's going to come. Nobody's going to talk to anybody again. I catastrophize over it. So these days, I try to take that step of, okay, I'm going to sit here through it. I'm going to sit here through it, and I'm going to try and be solid and steady and not have a conniption, which is what I feel like. It's what I feel like is happening. So I can trust myself to always want to be a conciliator and be peaceful and bring people together. Certainly can't trust myself to not want to run out of the room if people get, And then I can trust myself to be of service to people, very much so. And I can also trust myself, aside from when I want to get under the table, to try my best. So I try to put my trying my best into situations where I need to be a little braver and stronger about conflict and discord than I would naturally like to be. I don't always trust myself to be physically strong, partly because I was a migraine sufferer for years, and my migraines were so severe that I was, often hospitalized. So I could never quite trust myself to say, oh yeah, I'll show up and, I'll be there on Monday morning and I'll do the week and blah, blah, blah. I could never quite trust myself physically, which is also something, and thank heavens that's gone now. Now I'm an older lady, but it's always stayed with me that, when I commit to something, I didn't always used to be able to show up and do it. And it's the most horrible, mortifying feeling. It's just dreadful, not showing up when you feel like people are relying on you. And the other thing I'm really bad at is memorizing material. So I don't trust myself to remember things exactly as they should be delivered either, which is, another one of my don't have complete trust in. So those are mine. Does anybody want to share theirs? Yes, please.
Doing as I say, I will. I don't say yes unless I'm sure I'll be able to do it, unless It's something. I also I have heart condition and I was. In my life. So I eat healthy heart foods. I take care of my body. And the third one is faithful to family. Do the second part.
that would be great. Yes, yes.
Identify 3 areas of life where you have the least trust in yourself. That being said up there, self-care. Having a light-hearted attitude. I need to.
Sure.
Pretty serious. And being easy on myself. I've been very hard on myself.
Yeah, okay. Having compassion for ourselves.
Right.
It's not easy being a human being in so many different ways. We have so much to deal with all the time. And it's hard to have compassion for ourselves. It's easier to have it for other people, I think, than it often is for ourselves. Because, you know, we have the saboteur voice too. You know, it's like, oh, you know, the voice says. Does anybody else have any goodies for me?
Just one thing.
Yeah.
For my identifying my where I least trust myself, it's just the opposite of you. Because I'm going to say something.
I love it. I'm going to team up with you.
That I won't say something
In either
a discussion or where the truth needs to be
Right.
for the group or for the person.
Uh-huh.
I try to say it kindly, but I get myself in trouble a lot.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's very interesting, isn't it?
I don't have, I should have more fear of being invasive or
out of order.
Uh-huh. And do you ever catch yourself with that these days?
Yes, I've been working on it.
Uh-huh.
Myself and me.
Like they do. Yeah, that's interesting. I think it's, you know, it's really telling when we can work out where we trust ourselves and where we don't. Because if we're not trusting of ourselves, we're not really going to be very trusting of anything else, really, are we? You know, at the end of the day. And when you think that it all begins and ends for us with us and we're our greatest resource, that caring for that integral trust issue within ourselves is super important. You know, knowing if you say to yourself, I am going to do something tomorrow, then really try to take a step towards doing it so that you keep yourself in some level of integrity. And, you know, every day is a new day. You can show up the next day and have another go. I mean, that's one of the beautiful things about being a human being. It's like every minute of every day we can choose to switch. But we're only going to be able to choose to switch if we're aware. If we're aware, you know, and we're aware of these things and where we're not able to trust ourselves. Does anybody, I'm sure you're all writing delicious things. Does anybody want to share something?
I'll share.
Yes, please, Gail.
Where I most trust myself as an adult is relationships and boundaries. Having been betrayed, you learn very quickly how important boundaries are.
Mm-hmm.
And I really trust myself with that.
It's interesting.
Where I don't trust myself in terms of relationships is where the relationship is good, but then politics enters into it. And then I'm like on shaky ground. I'm not sure where my boundaries are. I mean, some boundaries are very in place, but some boundaries are little. And so there's two sides to that coin.
Sure.
The other place where I have the most absolute trust in myself is in my spiritual connection.
Right.
Having faith in the things I believe in. Joan of Arc is my favorite saint. So I feel really strongly like I trust all of that and what I believe in, and where when I reach out, it's always with a sense of faith that I'm reaching out to something very solid for me. Where I don't trust myself is having compassion towards others when I'm really angry.
Oh, yeah. That's such a challenge, isn't it?
That's a challenge. My spouse is very good about pointing that out.
Uh-huh.
A little Gail, because so-and-so has this stuff going on.
Right.
So that's a help to me, but it is an area where I am challenged.
Yeah, that is interesting. Having compassion then it's really, really challenging. Really challenging. Anybody else have any goodies they want to share?
I'll share.
Okay.
I definitely trust myself to always be there for whatever my family needs. I trust my faithfulness to God. I don't necessarily trust myself to set good boundaries. Or as she said, self-care. I'm really good at taking care of everyone else, but self-care is something that I'm not good at.
The hardest thing often. You know, especially for those of us who want to be connected and want to be of service. You know, we have that voice in our head that says, oh, you're being so selfish. You know, really, you are. And yet, if we're not okay, we can't help anybody else, you know. Alex, do we have folks on the Zoom? Yes. Okay. So Zoom people.
Yes, hi. I trust myself to always be working really hard to be aware and in the moment. What I'm finding, and now that I'm thinking about it, what I don't trust is that I seem to not be able to trust my, I guess, confidence in not being triggered, because I'm trying so hard to be aware of so many things internally and externally, but the triggers are so easily triggered, especially with social media, even though I try to keep that to a minimum also.
Hi. I think the one area where I really trust myself is in managing my own personal health. Having been a cancer survivor, I'm really conscientious about my exercise and diet. So that's one area where I can really trust myself. But I think the area where I least trust myself is quite often in speaking up for myself. I've never wanted to disappoint people by saying things that might cause a conflict, and I avoid that like the plague because I just don't want people to be upset with me. And quite often that's been to my own detriment. It's something that I've tried to work on. My sister refers to that as the disease to please. And I find myself being one of these people saying, oh, I'm sorry for something that is totally unrelated to anything that I've said or done. So I've had to work on trying to gain trust in myself to be more confident. Thank you.
Okay, let me think of a few things. Right away, I am a very trustworthy listener. Person can tell me something and I can keep it confidential, which opens me up to quite a few friendships. I have friends who talk about people behind their back extensively. Not to say I haven't done that too, but overall, I'm a pretty good confidant, number one. I also am aware of involving people that I can see are on the fringes. I am so giving and generous. I wouldn't say to a fault because I comes naturally. I just do it. I can spot people that are needy and I will give myself to them, not expecting something in return. No, I'm not a saint. Anyway, and my least trusting thing is my time management. It can really get to me because I like to have such a full day in life that I'm sometimes struggling and I'll end up burning the midnight oil to fit it all in. And also, I can tend to be a little late sometimes, and I'm working on that one just because I got to fit it all in there. And those are my really outstanding ones that came to mind. So there you go. I am done.
That too, Tom.
Anybody else?
Nope, nope.
Okay. So this whole idea of having trust in ourselves is something that it's really good to be aware of. And I think what's come out of this so much for me is that there's this interesting duality between where we can trust ourselves and where we can least trust ourselves. So the diplomats among us don't like conflict, you know? So it's so interesting that the two sides of integrity and trust in ourselves are very much linked with one another. So we find it, you know, particularly easy to be a peacekeeper and particularly hard to deal with conflict. And it hadn't actually resonated with me in quite this way until we had this discussion here that there is this you know, everything is about balance really in the end, but these things are very, very connected with one another. We can trust ourselves to be of service to our family, etc. Do we look after ourselves? No, not so much. And I remember when I first went to holistic practice school, we had Deepak Chopra talking with us, and he knew that he was in a huge auditorium. I think there were 1,500 of us, and he knew that he was talking to this whole group of people who wanted to be of service, who wanted to help, who wanted to heal and cure the world. And the first thing he said was, you have to care for yourself. It's that, you know, age-old idea of the oxygen mask drops down in the aeroplane and you have to put it on first before you can help the person in the seat next to you. And it is hard for people who are caring and kind and compassionate. I mean, we see caregivers get absolutely exhausted by the amount of work they have to do. And I care for a disabled man who had 3 strokes 15 years ago. And so ragged was I run in the beginning with, I mean, he nearly died so many times and I was at the hospital all the time. And by the time I'd been through 3 years of doing this every day and dashing backwards and forwards like a crazy thing, I was a heap. I was really, really a heap, you know, and just not going to be able to continue to help him if I didn't start to care for myself more and do the things that I needed to do to nourish my, you know, physical strength, mental strength, and spiritual strength. So it's hard for us, and you know, that line between, oh, I'm going to go off and swim this afternoon in the summer. And every time I go to do that, and I only go and do it for an hour, I think, oh, really, that's indulgent. And then I come back and I can do things at twice the energetic level that I could do them before. And it was like, actually, that investment you just made pays dividends. So we are about to wrap up for lunch, I think, but does anybody have any, can you believe it? It's noon. Does anybody have any thoughts, questions, comments, anything they would like to say before we head for the Wisdom House deliciousness for lunch? Yes, Mary.
One thing, because it comes to my mind, any conference generally that I go to, is that one of the things that I always take is through the discussions, through hearing what all of you have said, we're all alike, we're, sometimes I think, oh, you'll think, oh, but we're all in the same boat, and I love rowing the boat with all of you. Thank you.
I was just gonna say the same thing.
Yeah.
I feel like we're all on the same track.
One of those.
Yeah, I would, very much like to thank you all for such an inspirational morning. Lucy, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I've just been thinking about, 2 weeks ago, I went to a rally in Litchfield on the mayor, and there were a variety of folks and such like that. But I was just touched, I was just sad, and I was saddened by the age we were and the absence of the young adults. So I found myself, there were 3 young adults in the immediate area where I was, and going up to them and thanking them for being there and encouraging them to please, next time there's something going on, bring some friends. And then I realized that these young people looking around probably were stunned by the lack of peers, because really on the Litchfield Green there were more dogs. I was thinking how, the last time I was in Litchfield for any period of time, I was in the late 60s, early 70s. And what's the series of restaurants in the Green used to be the jail. And so in that period of time, Daniel Berrigan was in jail, and Liz was in jail, and all these people were in jail. And as novices, we went and protested. And I thought, how do I plant the seed to encourage, invite, stimulate, whatever the phrase is, young adults to see that they too can make a difference in our environment? Because I don't see it. I don't see it in the world. I don't see it in the church. I don't see it in our society. I know intellectually and from research that they are more conservative than I am. But that sense of, do they have a sense of they can't make a difference? That's what saddens me, and that I keep trying to figure out how to change.
It's interesting.
So I've gone to a few of these in different locations.
2 or 3 in Connecticut in different cities, towns. I've been to the Litchfield one, and Milford and Florida, where I lived half a year. And it's different depending on the population. So, there are young people, but my daughters go and their children go. Say if you live in Boulder, Colorado, was a lot of
Right. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was in Florida too, and there were more young adults, but it's, I guess, here, Bloom, where you're planted. Here in Litchfield, I was just surprised.
Is more older adult children, I think.
I'll just say, I went to a memorial service yesterday for late 50s, my son. It was a punk rock band. Have any of you ever listened to punk rock?
Sure, I was a punk rocker.
Lyrics of their music is exactly what you are saying.
Yes.
And I was heartened by
Wow.
because everyone was saying, talking about his moral character and all of that, that are the things that I value. And so, yeah, but they're not going to church.
Right. I think there's a,
And they're,
yeah.
they're not hanging out with us and they're not on the radio waves where you might come in contact with them.
Okay, folks, let's wrap it up for lunch. To everyone there in person, savor every bite of that delicious lunch. We will. We will resume at 12:45. Oh, I think we have another message. Thank you, Caroline, and all for sharing. It is helping me cope and moving onward. I will miss joining you after lunch as I have a regularly set up social commitment. Marianne. Thank you, Marianne. We've loved having you on board. And we'll see you next time. And Mindy Rose says thank you. You are most welcome. Well, we're getting so good at this Zooming thing. Wonderful. Okay, so we are back here at 12:45. Enjoy your lunch, ladies. So for everybody who had lunch, welcome back. And our people on Zoom, welcome back. In this last hour and a bit, we're going to talk about the power of showing up if we are to be the light keepers that the world needs. And we are going to be how the future looks with how we co-create with every minute of every day. And I did a little research into what makes the difference between people who are successful and people who aren't so successful but would have liked to have been. And inevitably, it's about showing up. It's about showing up even if we don't really want to. It's about showing up and getting over the fear, you know, of putting ourselves somewhere in an uncomfortable position. Anybody who's pretty much got anywhere has shown up, has taken that leap and put themselves in a vulnerable position. So I thought it'd be fun to start after lunch to wake us all back up, to identify an experience when you showed up, even though you didn't really want to, and something good or positive happened as a result. And I'm happy to share mine while you're thinking. So back in the day, in the 90s, I had made a decision that I would like to do some work in the film industry in Britain. And at that time, it was mainly focused in Soho in London. And so I decided, I think I was 32 years old or something. I decided that I had no film experience at all. and I decided to go around and knock on the doors of film companies. And I did do some of this, and people very politely said, no, we don't need anybody at the moment. They're probably thinking, certainly not somebody with no film experience. Anyway, I was walking down a street in Soho, and I came upon a film production company. I went inside, and the phones were just ringing. And it's in the days when there was a receptionist who was answering all the calls and putting them through to the offices, you know, very different to today. So there was a reception desk with nobody on it, and the phones are ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing. Well, I've never run a switchboard or anything. Anyway, so this guy came out. He was one of the main directors. He was all harried and everything. And he was like, yes, can I help you? And I said, do you need somebody? I just said this. I didn't even know I was going to say it. I said, do you need somebody to answer that phone? He went, yes, sit, answer the phone. I said, what do I say? Anyway, he said, this is what you say. And then he sort of gave me this tutorial that lasted about 40 seconds or something with and I sat down and I thought, I have no idea how to stop these phones ringing and how to get them through to the right offices. So I was sort of doing all this stuff and trying to make it look like and answering the phone and everything. And then all of a sudden it went very quiet in there. And I thought, oh, okay, I'll put all the calls through and we're good. And then he came back out and he said, I think the switchboard is jammed for some reason. Oh, yes, that would be me. Anyway, so then, you know, we worked through how to get it all working. And I worked there for a week because the receptionist had called in sick unexpectedly and they couldn't find anybody else. So then the next thing that happened was the Ridley Scott, he of Blade Runner fame and everything else, had the biggest production company in Britain, probably still does, and it was the notoriously hardest one to get into and the most sort of aggressive training you could ever have. It turned out that the people at this smaller company were affiliated with Ridley Scott. And at the end of the week, they called and they said, our receptionist just left here at Ridley Scott. Do you know of anybody? And they went, oh, yes, Caroline. And the next thing you know, I'm working with Ridley and Tony Scott. And I was like, I didn't mean it quite like this. I was like, oh, I just want to be on a film set and it's going to be cool. And all of a sudden I was in this incredibly intense environment and everybody's like, wow, you work at Ridley Scott. Wow, what are they? And I was just like a rabbit in the headlights. But I had asked to get a film job and it was like, yeah, whoa, slow this thing down. Anyway, so that's my story of, and of course the training I had there, I took with me everywhere. But so that's my story of, and I hadn't really sort of wanted to show up. I was kind of like wanted to do it, but I was terrified. You know, I was in that sort of halfway stage. Anyway, that's my story of showing up when I was sort of not sure about showing up and what happened. Does anybody have a good story to share? Oh, yes, Gail, good.
Been studying with some Native American people, and they were out in the West, like out in Washington. And they were putting together a little newsletter. And they were like, Gail, you're from the East Coast. Can we put your contact information in there? And I said, sure, if somebody's traveling through and needs a place to stay or whatever, fine. Unbeknownst to me, they were sending this newsletter out to prisons. And all of a sudden, I got a letter from a woman who was in Danbury Federal Prison, stating that the Christians had priests and ministers and the Muslims had imams, but there was a group of Native American women there, and they had nobody to help them do ceremonies. And I was like,
I'm not really Native American. I've studied with them and I've embraced this for myself. Anyway, I contacted the head of religious services, who was a Catholic nun. And she was like, well, come on in for an interview. And I was like, okay. I did all of that. And then came the first evening where I was to meet the women. And there were like 8 women sitting in a circle like this. And 4 of them were Lakota. They were singing. I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be here. I introduced myself. We talked about, I had brought a pipe for prayer. I had a pipe ceremony. It seemed to go okay. They didn't have hardly anything to say. The other women were quite chatty. The next week I came, all 4 of them had been transferred somewhere else. And then Circle just came alive. And from then on, women were coming and going. But I ended up doing that work for 12 years as a volunteer. And we built the first sweat lodge in the prison.
Really?
Yeah.
What a story. I love that story.
It was an interesting experience. But I went in kind of kicking and dragging my feet. You know, there should be a Native person who's coming in to do this, not me. But there isn't anybody. And so I was always taught, if there's a need and you can fill it, it's your obligation to do it. So there I was.
Well, I think sometimes the universe has other plans for us than the ones we have, you know? And following that, sometimes it can be very inconvenient. It's like, no, 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 really? Not now. Not there. Anybody else have a good one? The power of showing up. You can also give me an example of some time when you showed up and things went very strangely off the track, which can also happen.
Well, my first meeting with my husband, he asked me if I wanted to go hike Mount Washington with him and his friends. Last thing in the world I wanted to do was but my mom said, well, you know, if you like him, you have to show interest in his interests. So I was like, sure, I have time.
I can't wait.
And I'm a swimmer. I don't. And right before I left, my mom said, no, listen, boys don't like complainers. So don't complain. So I've got this huge backpack with a sleeping bag. And I was 98 pounds at the time. I was tiny. And my husband's favorite picture still to this day is of me with that backpack on. And we're hiking, and oh, it was hell. It was total. My legs were like shaking. And there was another friend that had brought someone that he was living, and she was whining and complaining.
Oh.
I made it all from the top. I got there.
Did you really?
Serving dinner. We stayed in, like, there's a hut at the top, and I married him. We've been married 34 years, 2 wonderful children, grandchildren, and we got into hiking, which I never would have thought I would have gotten into. But the last thing in the world I wanted to do was hike Mount Washington. And it turned out to be, you know, like a turning point in my life. It's not as meaningful as your stories, but it you know, it definitely changed my life.
Well, I was going to say it affected everything. It affected your entire life, didn't it? I hope they gave you a glass of wine when you got to the top. Yeah, really. Really.
So
Yes.
I have a little bit of a story, a big story.
Goody.
It's my life.
Yeah.
In a similar fashion with my husband. So I was a teenager. We knew each other from high school, and we were sort of dating, you know. And then I was a dancer, a ballet dancer, and I was very intent upon going to New York. And I went to New York and I studied there for a year. And then I was illumined. And I decided that at the age of 21 or 19 actually, to give up my ballet for professional reasons, and then just follow the spirit and go with what I felt God wanted me to do, which was to be with my husband Larry. And so that was just an example of being not really wanting to get married. I wanted to dance. And I did get married and lived happily ever after. 16 years.
Oh, congratulations. So how did you in what way did you receive the message? Because I imagine you probably could have tried to continue dancing and maybe got married. I don't know. It's probably hard to do both, right?
I did a twofer.
I was continuing to dance, but not in New York. I danced in college, and then I danced for local companies in Connecticut, and then I danced went from the time I was 25 to 38 in Washington, D.C. area with a modern dance company. So I
Oh, how wonderful.
While I was raising my children.
Okay.
So I did a.
Yes. Because when you've had a passion like that, it's it's a powerful thing. And
Really, yeah. Oh, you're going to be on Broadway? No, we're going to see you on Broadway.
Well, I wasn't good for auditioning anyway. It's really bad.
Well, auditioning's really hard.
Yeah.
So how did the message manifest is what I'm trying to ask, that you should change?
Slowly, but then at the end
oh my gosh, I'm in love with Larry. Since I was 15. And it was always like, you're just there, and he was always just there.
And he was always there.
Always there. He showed up, and then I showed up for him.
Wow, that's a great story. Anybody else have a good one? Yes, Anne. Your stories are always good, my dear.
Yeah, I was poor at the time. First of all, in religious life, our superiors were always named from the general team that we had, which was in Rome. And this in '84 was a new time, and we were going to elect our provincial and the team to work with the provincial team of four. And it was here in Litchfield, and lo and behold, my name kept coming up, and I remember saying to Lucy at that time, "What's wrong with people?" And we had to say what we thought about the church, and I did, and it wasn't very complimentary, just the hierarchy, not spirituality, but what I was seeing. And people just took that. Anyway, in the end, I was elected, and I was so scared. I really was so frightened. And we had another day or two before our Superior General was there, also from Rome, and we were going to be installed at Mass. And I remember thinking, oh, it's not official yet.
I can still get out of it.
I was looking I wanted to get in the car and crawl under the covers.
Sure.
Hi, and that's how frightened I was. I know what people will really be unhappy if I Anyway, I was there for and it was a wonderful experience. And for the whole 4 years, I kept saying it was a fluke. It was a fluke. And then 4 years later, they elected me again. So then I said, well, now they know what they're getting. Yeah, but yeah, that was so scary for me that first time.
Oh, I bet. Oh my. Anybody else have one they want to share? Yes, Lena. Thank you.
I got a call to work with gentleman's dying, and his wife sounded so crazy, and the whole situation sounded so difficult. I thought, I can't possibly do this. It was all the way down in Soho in one of the strangest buildings you can imagine in New York. But I had a dream and I thought I have to go. Even on the way to go there, this woman was sending me crazy texts and I thought, oh my God. And then I got a letter with all his medical conditions and I thought, this man's gonna die any second. Why am I going there? I was terrified. And when I came in, I see a man lying in this rickety bed. And I thought, this poor man. And he pulled down the blanket and I saw the most beautiful eyes. And it was probably the most beautiful relationship I've ever had with anyone. His wife was terrible. But every time I saw this man, I would just hold his hand and thank every force in heaven that I could meet someone like this. And he was so grateful. And sometimes I had to go and clean him up a little bit because he didn't smell very good. And it's not because he was poor or homeless, he was just neglected. And I could have left and not gone in there.
So easily, yeah.
But I listened to something. Just the most beautiful man you can imagine. So, and I think, what if I hadn't gone in there? He completely changed my life.
Yeah, I think so often people do get these downloads, they do get these synchronicities, they do get these messages, but they don't necessarily know what they are or how important they can be. And I think when you start to have experiences like that, you begin to pay more attention to what shows up. You know, maybe, oh, there's a reason why I've just bumped into this person now. I've just heard that piece of information now. I went to this event that I didn't really want to go to and I met this person. You know, I think the more we're aware of it, the more we then, you know, tap into it and use it. And I think then the process also speeds up some too. I think we experience more synchronicity and more divine downloads, the more receptive that we are, I would say.
Today.
There you are.
That's why I'm because I listened to that inner voice, that this was the next step for me to come here to heal.
That is just brilliant. And I think you registered right at the last minute, didn't you?
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, there you go, right there. So I think we have Mindy on Zoom.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
I had been single after a very bad divorce for 7 years, and in all those 7 years, you date and you wish and you want and you hope and you long for relationships. And I remember the night that I let it all go, where I was no longer concerned with how it was going to be, realizing that it may never be. This was years ago when there was still Yahoo chats online, the beginning of America Online. I had a lumpectomy, and I was sitting in my house with the bandages on and feeling very sorry for myself, but saying, well, you know, I can't control how this is what's gonna happen. Just, it no longer matters the same. And I get online and I just chat with people, and this one man started talking to me, and I divulged, because I don't usually disclose things, that I just was sitting there after surgery, and he was so kind, and we ended up talking and chatting and laughing, and the next time he saw me, he said, our first date was that he took me to the doctor to get the bandages off. And that instant, it was, this was the person. And it just fell into my lap, and it's 28 years now. And we've been married for 28 years. This is the kind person who synchronicity, just as I let go of wanting it, there it was.
Thank you. So that's an important piece of the puzzle too, isn't it? That when we stop wanting, forcing, holding, we're attached to things, very often, you know, we lose our grip on them, don't we? And when we're able to go into a situation, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know, I'm going to be okay. There's a huge amount of power in there because we're not trying to force the issues. We're not trying to force our way in the world. One of the most powerful books I've ever read is from Dr. David Hawkins, who wrote the book Power versus Force. I don't know if anybody's ever read that. The Hidden Determinants of Human Behavior, Power versus Force. And his whole premise is that when things are forced and pushed, they constantly have to be checked in with, they constantly have to be reaffirmed. They often, as we have seen with what's happening in our country today, when you're forcing issues, which is what we're seeing all the time at the moment, you have to back it up with an awful lot of, you know, untruths. You have to keep banging on. You have to be very loud. You have to keep being affirmative. You don't want to hear from anybody else. And the opposite of that position is when people step into their personal power and then they come together. So when you see mass demonstrations of people who are all filled with goodness and good cheer and connectivity, nobody's forced them to show up. They're just going with the power and the flow and showing up. So this whole idea of power versus force, the power of the people with good intentions is always going to beat out the darkness. And I grew up in Britain after the war, and my grandmother had been shipped off to India when I can't remember which year it was, but my mother was born in 1917, so it was probably a bit before that. And the Brits were shipping off lovely young women and sending them to the British Raj in India to marry the British soldiers because they didn't want them to marry any locals, heaven forbid. Anyway, so my grandmother ended up marrying a guy in the British Army and all of the rest of it. So what happened and so we were always very aware of India when I was growing up. And what happened in India basically is that the British people were trying to force the issue in this huge nation where they'd overextended themselves anyway. And Mahatma Gandhi shows up and sits on a mat and says, I am here for the sovereignty of all people. And that's what he did. And that was going up against the might of the British Empire, which at the time was probably the richest empire in the world. And he drew all of these people to him because it included everybody. It was the opposite of separatism. It included everyone. And there was nothing about hierarchy or anything. And that could bring down an empire, a man on a mat with good intentions. So I would suggest that having a look at power versus force, even just the concept of it, is fascinating to me because it is one of the things that's giving me a great deal of hope today, because what I'm seeing energetically is the forcing of issues all the time, this aggressive forcing of issues and ideals and beliefs and mistruths versus people stepping into their power and coming together to be a force that's going to ultimately be way more powerful than that, I would say. So
Last name, Dr. David
Hawkins, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. He's kind of a fascinating character. So does anybody else have a good story they want to share about showing up?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. We have somebody on Zoom? Okay. Oh, yes. Sharon?
Hi. Of course, my phone just went off. Hang on a second. Sorry. I usually mute it. Okay. This is something that just kind of put us in a position where we had to show up. We were looking to move from New Jersey to a home here in the Hudson Valley. We had signed our contract, ready to go. And my husband, as a photographer, was working very hard. It was June and it was very hot. He suddenly took sick and we didn't know why, but his employees said to me, Sharon, you know what? Something's wrong. He never complains, but there's something wrong with your husband. So, we went to the hospital, to the emergency room 2 nights. They told him it was all in his head and he was gradually getting pain coming up both legs, and other pains starting to happen. He went to his doctor. They sent him for tests. They couldn't find anything. So the day came for the closing and we're like, here we are buying a home for like $375,000 or whatever it was. And he's taken sick. So we get up here, we went to do the walkthrough on the house and he collapsed on the ground. He couldn't walk. So I'm like, what do we do here? We just went through with it with some kind of faith that it was going to be okay. And the realtor and I basically carried Tom in. We supported him into the signing, which he could hardly sign because his arms were now getting paralyzed. And, people are looking at us, the people we were buying from, the man had MS and he was leaving the house because he couldn't handle it anymore. And here we are signing a contract on this home. And we didn't even go back to the house after we signed a contract. We went down to New Jersey to the emergency room. Luckily, Tom's cousin was a nurse in the ER, so that was a very good synchronicity. She said, I know him. He's not faking this. You got to get him in. It was, how emergency rooms are. They got him in and they called in a neurologist. He had Guillain-Barré and he was paralyzed from basically from the neck down, although it didn't impact his breathing. But, he was in the hospital and had vials and vials and vials of gamma-globulin and then had to go to rehab. But during that time, when he was in the hospital, across the room, someone hollered out, Jesus loves you. Now, how many times people just go proclaiming Jesus loves you? And I was shopping on the street in our local town. A woman came out of the 99-cent store and she took me aside and said, has anyone told you recently that Jesus loves you? I was like, well, yeah. And then I'm on the way to the rehab place. I stop at Dunkin' Donuts because I thought Tom probably would like a cup of coffee and a donut. And a man started joking with me, one of the other customers, and he said, why are you here? And I said, well, I'm here to get coffee for my husband. He's in rehab. And he said, well, what's wrong with him? I said, well, you wouldn't understand. I said, because it's a very rare condition he has. I said, he has Guillain-Barré. He said, oh, I'm a doctor who used to treat that. And he said, your husband is going to get well. He's going to be fine. And I thought, wow, that's 3 messages. And the man began to pray out loud in Dunkin' Donuts. I'm like, this is incredible that, God is there to support me. So that's our story. It got written up in a book of God's interventions that some other person published through. There's a place called the Rosary House in Jersey City, and the man, he had painting of Saint Anne and Mary that he pulled out of the garbage one day, and it bled tears of oil that were healing oils. So they prayed for Tom too. So that's our show up and synchronicity story.
Wow, that's quite the story, I would say. Good heavens. It reminds me a little bit of just a slight aside, because this is a place where I hadn't really meant to show up, but when I had a very bad riding accident in 2005, I was catapulted off a galloping horse when it fell down a woodchuck hole. Anyway, the horse was fine, but I wasn't really so fine. And I ended up in the emergency room, and I was lying there, and the doctor who was racing around the emergency room bustled in, and she looked at me and she said, "You're going to need far more than the morphine that I want to give you. So I'm just going to write up a list of things that you need to do for your life." Meanwhile, I'm lying there and my back is pretty wrecked. And I'm thinking, what is she talking about? Just give me some painkillers and, blah, blah, blah. And I'm so grateful I can still hobble around if I can. Anyway, she, at the top of the list, which I bothered to read a few weeks later when I got my wits about me, it said, read Carolyn Mace's book, The Anatomy of the Spirit, which I then hobbled into the local bookstore, and there was the big display of the book. And I thought, okay, get the book. And I started to read the book, and it just brought me sort of right back round to being on a personal development and then a spiritual development path that I'd gotten off. But as I was flying through the air on the horse, I thought to myself, aha, I've been stopped. I kind of knew it. Between flinging off and landing on the ground twice, I thought, I've been stopped. I'm like the space shuttle that crashed. And maybe that's why I was meant to be in the emergency room that afternoon. Because which head of the ER gives you a reading list? I mean, most people will be like, look, I've broken something. Don't make me read something. So there we are. I think I've lost my microphone. No, there we are. Okay. So the last sort of exercise that we're going to have today is I'd love for you to identify 3 things that give you hope. Okay, I'm going to share mine while you just finish off. I have a very strong belief that the arc of justice does bend in a good direction ultimately, but I think that what happens is we surge forward with progress, and then there are forces that drive it back, and we surge forward, and there are forces that drive it back. And at the moment, we're in a very strong period of push and pull. But I have a great deal of hope at the moment that this bigger trajectory is going to be in the right direction, because ultimately human beings are hardwired to come together in community. And I also know that people can be extremely greedy and self-serving, but one of those issues is a powerful position of people coming together, and the other is a not powerful position of people exploiting each other, and that way madness lies. That way we just destroy everything. So I have this belief, I'm with the Reverend Martin Luther King on this one, that the arc of justice does bend in the right direction, ultimately. I'm just very aware that it could take quite a long time, quite a long time. Also, the concept of power versus force, which I mentioned before. Power is always going to defeat force. It also happened in the Second World War that Germany forced issues and the Allies came together and harnessed their power. So I have a belief in that too, that the power of people coming together with good intentions will outweigh the greed and destruction. And I also have a very strong belief in a higher power that I check in with regularly. And that is another part of my reason for having hope. I think the people that I know who don't have a belief in something greater than themselves really struggle, because intellectually, this is no joke, this situation we're in. If you're just relying on intellect and science and everything else, not that there's anything wrong with either of those things, but if you don't have that other piece, I think it's really tough at the moment. And I know, so many bright, brilliant people who are struggling so much because they don't have that belief. And that's a big part of my hope system, if you like. So anybody want to share some goodies? I think we have somebody on the screen. Prayer, remembrance of God's presence in the past. Yeah, that's a very good point. People who do show up and are able to do what I cannot. Love that too. That's wonderful. Family and groups supporting each other and the world. Yes, they're all very hopeful things, wonderfully hopeful things. I love that. Thank you, Sharon. Do we have anybody else on Zoom, Alex? Okay.
Yes. I am one of those people who do not have any kind of belief in spiritual things anymore. I was raised that way, but it just stopped. What does give me hope, though, is I needed something concrete to go with. And one of them was the knowledge that there are extremely smart people with integrity working underneath all of this bull that we see on social media, feverishly working against it. And I know that there's a lot of work being done. We don't always know what it is. We don't see what it is, but there are people who are showing up there.
That's wonderful. Yes, I would go with that too, that there's a lot going on underneath the chaos and confusion that is deliberately grabbing the headlines right now, because it's designed to distract us, it's designed to overwhelm us, it's designed to make us feel inevitability that that way is going to prevail. And I'm not buying it at all. And to this very point, there are people showing up all the time. You know, they just don't make it to the top of the MSNBC nightly news fest talking heads. You know, they're just quietly getting on with stuff all the time, all the time, all the time. This amazing resistance. Do we have anybody else on Zoom, Alex? No? Okay. Anybody else want to share their hope with the group?
Well, that she mentioned that she doesn't really have a faith base, you know, that she's, it sounds like she's has a spiritual base, but not a faith based.
But I have been there, but now I have a faith base, so it's just the opposite. And so my faith base is hope is a lot is impelling me to hope in the healing power of God, that all divisions will become whole again. That's how he intended. And
Love that.
two, that I hope in the protection of Our Lady in bringing peace to the world. Once again, it's my faith base. And I hope that the mercy of God brings us all to eternal life and light. So I've sort of left the physical realm and start to speak in the spiritual ethereal realm.
Yes, I love that. I always find it's almost easier to be in that realm, isn't it?
Yeah, you just rely. You just go, it's an anchor.
Yeah, it's an anchor, and it's okay. Yeah.
The choice.
Yeah.
Just all the choice.
It's all a choice. And I think that, you know, it's hard being a human being and being a good, decent human being and making a difference. It is hard work every single day. And I feel that nobody ever prepares us for that. I mean, certainly not where I grew up were we ever prepared for that. I mean, my father was able to, you know, help on that spiritual side of life, but good heavens, we were always taught to just buckle up and get on with it, you know. Bit sort of
yourself up by the just get going.
yeah. Yeah, that's right. Keep calm and carry on. You know, it's very, very British thing to do. And don't grumble. Good Lord, don't grumble. Never grumble. Anybody else got some hope? Oh, I just want to say to Zoom people too, just available in the chat, I think. So what do we have here from Deborah? Wise and wonderful spiritual leaders whose work in the world give me hope that goodness will prevail. Well, I love that. That's wonderful. Okay, anybody else got some hope to share with the group? I know you've got some good stuff in there. Gail, I know you've got some good stuff in there.
Is more powerful than greed, than separation, than evil. And I believe, Mom.
Yes. It's so interesting, isn't it? It's such a powerful force on the planet, and yet we can't actually see it, but we can see where it manifests and how it manifests, right?
Right.
So it's like that sort of a magic ingredient. You can't actually see it, but you see the effects of it everywhere, everywhere.
When you feel it all the time.
Feel it, yes, exactly, exactly.
Was it the Beatles?
I believe in love.
Wasn't it the Beatles that had a song? I believe in love.
They certainly did Love Is All You Need.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they did. They had Love Is All You Need, I think.
Love is all you
Yeah,
need.
yeah. Anybody else got goodies? I know you do. Uplift us all. Mary, you've got some goodies there.
I mean, I think that's already been said from someone, but
I wrote down programs like today, places like Wisdom House, present day mystics and good books and podcasts. You know, we gotta fill ourselves with good things instead of news things, you know?
Yes, yeah, good
And
things
like
instead of
you said,
news things.
You know, all those are mystics, the saints, you know, and invest yourself in things that are life affirming.
And then again, I wrote my faith, and I'm an optimistic person, so I sometimes I can't even grasp some of it, you know, I have to, no, you know, but I'm an optimist, so that's a good thing most of the time. And of course, you know, good and honest people, you know, we're out there. Can't just look at the bad, to keep our focus moving forward, knowing that there's more good than bad out there. Find the positive.
I think that in human evolution, we've had the ability to destroy one another a million times over on this planet. Now, we've got really, really, really good at working out ways to annihilate one another. And yet, here we still are. And that makes me think that the good has a way of prevailing against the darkness. And I really believe that. I think Deb on Zoom would like to speak.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify that thing about the spiritual leaders that I wrote, and it kind of goes along with what was just said about listening to podcasts and so on. In my spiritual journey, has led me to some really wonderful people like Father Richard Rohr and Father James Martin, and I listen to podcasts and where people are just listening to them speak about their faith and the goodness in humanity has just really uplifted me, and that really gives me hope. And I know with Father Richard Rohr, he founded this place called the Center for Action and Contemplation, if any of you are familiar with that. There are several podcasts that go along with that, and it's just been very hopeful for me to read and to be inspired by these people in their writings and on their podcasts. So thank you.
Yeah.
So it all kind of goes back to where we pay attention, we get more of. Where we show up, we create synchronicity and things happen. So I believe we have 10 more minutes before we need to wrap up. And I think that for me, we do have a mission in these times, and we are way more powerful than we might think. And I was reading something really interesting the other day. We are in a period of radical change and transformation. I mean, we don't know what that is going to look like, but I think what we can all agree on is that we're not going to be going back to how things were. And we all know that there are folk who want that so badly that they will go against their own best interests to try to bring in people who falsely claim we're going to make it all like it once was. Because guess what? It's never, ever, ever going to be like it once was. So for me, the mission for those of us who know and understand these things is our job now is going to be to help guide the inevitable change. Now, we don't know what it's going to look like, but we do know the tools of love and compassion and empathy and truth that we want to take on that journey with us. So we know what the tools are. We don't know what the outcome is going to be, but we have that job. Those of us that know better and see more and are more aware of the big picture, I believe that we have a duty to help navigate these times and to help other people who really are struggling with that concept. They're looking in the rear view mirror all the time. And so they're not here now and available for this, and they certainly can't imagine a future that is any different. So what I try to do myself is that I imagine the kind of future that I would like in my own lifetime and for the people who are going to follow along behind. And, you know, it's one of compassion and caring, and boundaries and borders don't matter in the way that they do now. And, you know, we have a more just system that includes everybody, and we're not picking on other people, and we don't have to grab more than we need. So I always have this vision of how I would like it to be, and try to move towards that all the time, which is, you know, partly why I'm here with you all, because in this room, there's such a wealth of wisdom and experience and lives of service that it can, you know, it can all be harnessed to go forward. And this is where I think our task is to help those who are less fortunate and understanding of where we are today, because we're not going back to whatever that was. So how it's going to look is up to us. Every thought, every word, every deed, we have a job. We're light keepers, and we are connected and together, and I feel that very strongly. So does anybody have any questions for me, questions for the group? Oh, Alex, is there somebody on? Okay, Deborah. And everything at the Wisdom House is about hope. Thank you, Deborah. Love that.
You mentioned rearview mirror, and there's a musician that always likes to say the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror for a reason.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that.
Who says that? Jelly Roll.
Awesome. That's perfect.
That is so true, though, isn't it? Because so many people are driving along and they're just looking in the rearview mirror. They have no idea. They're not aware of anything. And I mean, being present is really hard. But as we all know, it's extremely important. And then imagining a future that we want and working towards that every day in every way that we can, and communicating, connecting with other people who feel the same way. It's ours to co-create. I really believe that, or I wouldn't be here. You know, I really wouldn't be here. I'd be under my duvet, Elena.
I didn't want to be a whiner and say I'm just a 5 before, but I really did feel like I was one of the many 5s of feeling not so great.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of feeling like we're all in a really kind of shaky place.
Things, and I was thinking, oh, not politics, please. But I feel, after having lunch and after sitting here, that such a normal group of people
Oh, I feel like and the way to help us
put things together, which is kind of strange.
This life anymore. I feel like the kindness of everyone here.
Thank you for sharing that.
I don't feel like I'm.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else want to sign off with anything? Any uplifting thoughts for the group or any doubts or questions that you might have?
I just feel the same. I think the group is really united. I feel that strength in our singleness of purpose. And that helps me to go on and believe in myself and in the rest of the world that we can make it happen.
We can make it happen. I know we can. Oh, we've got somebody. Mindy, have you done TED Talks? Do you think she's talking to Mindy? Are you talking to me?
Yes, I'm talking to you. Yes.
This has been so enlightening and hopeful. Even though I am participating on Zoom, I feel a real connection with like-minded people. Thank you. If I live near Lichfield, I would be at Wisdom House all the time.
I just wanted to add one
That's
thing.
wonderful.
Even though I consider Oprah sort of commercialized.
For everybody on Zoom, Sharon saying thank you all. For everybody on Zoom, I believe there's a feedback form.
Yes, there's a feedback form.
Okay.
The one thing I wanted to say, even though I think Oprah is a lot of commercial stuff, she said it years and years ago, what you focus on expands. And I keep that in my mind, and everything that you've said are things now to refocus on, and so that they can expand whenever we think about them. Thank you.
Beautifully put. Yep. Beautifully put. So we do have in our workbooks, as and when you, the mood, so drop everything on the floor. As the mood takes you, we have some feedback forms for folks to fill in. You can actually rip out the sheet, I believe, yes, on this back page when you want to. To everybody who is tuning in and watching the recording of this, all information for Living with Inner Elegance can be found at carolinephipps.com. And I am in the process of setting up through the website a way to chat with me and book a chat with me, because we're all leading these busy lives. And I know periodically it's just great for people to be able to check in. So we're going to be putting this new feature on the website to book a chat. And I would love that. So no formal session, but just if you need to check in and chat. And Deborah, do you want to come and let everybody know how to get a hold of Wisdom House if they are not familiar with it? And I'm sure everybody is by now.
Well, I don't know about you all, but I feel so encouraged after being able to participate in this today. So thank you for today and all of the contributions. I want to thank you for your transparency. Sometimes it's hard to come together with a group of strangers and feel comfortable and safe enough to really talk about how you're feeling. And I feel everybody here was able to share. And so I thank you for that. And Caroline, thank you so much for leading such a wonderful time together today.
Oh, thank you.
Also, thank you to our Zoom friends. Again, this was kind of an experiment for us. And so we appreciated your patience and the couple glitches that we had. And can we get a round of applause for our tech guy, Alex? Kudos to Alex for making all of this happen. It was great. And what I'm stepping away with is just, there's power in community. There's power in coming together with like-minded people and realizing that you're not alone, and that together we can make a difference. And so I'm encouraged by that today. So thank you for being here. Wisdom House has comment cards as well as Caroline. If you'll take one and pass it around, this helps us do better. If there's something you want us to know about, that you enjoyed, something that we can do better, something that you're looking for in a program, you can share your ideas. And we take all of this feedback and we try to use it in a positive way. For those of you joining us by Zoom, Sister Ann will be able to send out a comment card about the program through email. So you can also share your thoughts with us as well. So if you'll take one of these and pass it around. And then just be watching our website. We have other programs coming up. And feel free to join us. Tomorrow, actually, we have Rabbi Andrea Cohen is going to be with us. And the name of the program is something about communication.
Compassion, non-violence.
Yes. So, if you're able to join us, if not, be watching our website.
Compassionate communication.
That's it.
Yes, there's the compassionate word in there.
Yes. Thank you, Wisdom House, for allowing Zoom for those of us who couldn't make it.
Oh, Wendy.
Thank you for joining us. And this is a feature that we hope to hone in on and be able to present more often, so that other people can join our program to make it here to Wisdom House. If you have a moment before you leave, in our gallery, we have a beautiful artist that opened up a few weeks ago. So if you have a moment and you want to step in and see the gallery before you go, you are welcome to do that as well. And then please feel free to join us whenever it fits your schedule. And be watching our social media. I think Mary's the only one in the room that took advantage of it, but we did run a BOGO, buy one, get one. So you could bring a friend with you for the price of one. So every now and then, if you'll watch our social media or if you sign up for our newsletter, you'll see those opportunities. And you could come and bring a friend. So anybody have any questions? Okay, all right. Well, thank you again. Caroline, thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having us. We love collaborating with you.
It's been wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Can I just say one more thing?
Have at it, Mary.
When you were before, what came to my mind, and songs always come to my mind, but after a day like today, I was thinking of that song, "We Are the World, We Are the Children."
Yes.
Let's make a brighter day. So let's keep
How does it go?
right? Keep
Yes.
Yeah,
Love that
this is what we're
song.
making. We're saving our own lives.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yes.
These are songs, trust it.
And how empowering it is to have that choice.
I don't even know if I have this. Anybody know?
I think it's the 28th. It was earlier anyway.
I want to wave goodbye to our Zoom friends.
Oh, yeah.